I understand where in other,
Right, it's
We
an
don't-
alternative, right, to
we
lay
don't
off people,
have
like
an
furloughs.
organization big enough to absorb something like that.
Well, then
um,
furloughs, I mean, there's,
We,
Nobody-
well,
Yeah,
I thought,
this is-
I'm just saying staff
hoping-
savings.
well, I thought,
I'd
Isn't
like
it
to
great
put on
that
the
we're
list.
fully staffed? I love
Right.
that we don't have vacancies, and I would hate, I don't wanna hope that somebody leaves.
No,
because
of
that
course
would be
not.
an indication that,
You have to get the
other
right
opportunities
something
come,
else.
but I think that I wouldn't support raising that.
I mean, if we had some vacancies now, and, like line staff on either DPW or the police department, I would be more inclined to it, but given that we don't currently have any vacancies, I mean, we're kind of hoping that we get some vacancies and we may not, and then we have a big hole in the budget,
Yeah,
you
that's,
know?
that's fine, so nobody's gonna retire, nobody's gonna switch jobs, but
We may have that, but we already accommodate for that
That's
within the
2
vacancy
6
factor
months.
that we have in
6
there.
months block, yeah, that's cautious.
okay, well then, on the flip side.
And it is still on the list.
Is it,
Yes.
where is it on the list?
It is.
Oh, the 100,000, yes.
100,000.
So it's on the list, I don't sense much support for it, but
Okay.
it's on the list,
And
okay.
in flip side, less of a savings, but then we can bring down overtime to match this year. So we had a lot of vacancies in 2019 and the overtime was something, and then we raised overtime with full staff for 2020. So I think if we can manage with a lot of vacancies in 19 without a lot of overtime, we should be able to
What
manage.
budget is the overtime increase
So
in?
you sent it in, it's in DPW,
Staff has
so I'm telling you
already
the numbers.
communicated that we are going to
Lower it by 6,000.
lower that building,
Yeah,
the municipal garage
yeah.
overtime down to zero because
Was that
as
something?
President Rosa pointed out, that those overtime hours show up in other places. So
Yeah.
that is an adjustment I'll make to my worksheet.
All right,
and
that's
that'll go
here.
down
That's, I don't know if that's the
to
6,000 I'm talking about, so the total in DPW is like 34,000 and so whatever it was this year at 19 projected at, I don't know why we would raise it from that. We had a lot of vacancies, so you expect that you need to give some overtime to get that work done. So-
Only when responding to emergency situations like plowing operations, not in normal operations, but, I mean,
Well, then why would we need all those staff people if you can do your normal job without
well,
those
something
positions?
obviously doesn't get done, right? Like tree planting, for example, in 2019 was not
But
in
we
the
did a
budget.
study, I understand what you're saying.
I-
Anyways,
no,
I'm not
I
gonna
agree with
argue,
you.
I just wanna put it on the
Well,
list. And then I
Okay,
had,
okay, well,
Let's-
let's make sure it's on the list, because I'm just trying to find where this is salaries total.
he
Overtime?
sent us a total, right?
Yeah,
For the
overtime.
overtime
Yeah, there was
costs?
Oh, it's updates toward the top,
Yeah.
is updates, staff updates.
but also, let me just see,
Oh, yeah, here, right here.
so this
Yeah,
page
but that's just
here,
the 5,000.
5,000.
this page here is the DPW's overtime trend.
Okay, for 2019 projected?
So, staff acknowledges from a budgeting perspective to, on the second line item, to amend the 5,000 for municipal garage, which then brings that down to 36,000 for the
So I'd like you to go back to 30.
35,500
Is this like
for,
that?
for the 2020 budget.
So anyways, I propose that it goes down to 34, because we're gonna be fully staffed, and there shouldn't be more overtime for
So you're
them.
proposing a $1,500 additional reduction?
$1,500.
$15.
I'll take that, I mean, this is just not worth arguing
Okay.
about.
Yeah, this
Thank
is.
you.
I'll change some number and it'll
Okay,
be what it
so-
is.
So we talked about COLA, is that, we need to add that to the list, right? It's not on the list.
It's on the.
Yeah, that was too.
What number is it?
Let me look.
Okay.
It's, you said it was your response to me was in relation to merit pay?
And merit pay is on here twice.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so it should-
Come on.
Overly,
Come
overly
on.
zealous.
Yeah.
Cost of living needs to be added to the list, if that's the census.
Okay,
And then,
It was not, I reviewed that earlier today.
Oh, okay.
yep, just a minute. And then the wellness program, I just got this in our packet, our follow-up, and I know we're gonna be voting on that, it's coming up on our agenda for next meeting. But I just noticed it says, below is the table that breaks down the changes, intermediate level for wellness participation. It's the new, it says the only design change for 2020 is that the intermediate level is 12%. I didn't know what that meant, and if it's already factored into there, the change. Anyways, if it's not already factored into the.
What that's intended to reflect is if you have a person who's married, but their spouse doesn't participate, the employee doesn't get the full 10%, they only get the premium at 12%.
That's a change, that's what I've always argued for,
Yeah,
but is that number reflected in the budget right now? Because we haven't voted on it.
yeah, it's not really quantifiable at this point. We'll look at the trends and what impact that will have next year.
Okay, but Tyler does have that chart, because from a few years ago, that did quantify it, so I just wanted you to know
Not
that.
of spouses who don't participate.
No, but then,
I don't know if we don't
how
know
many, is that
yet.
what you're saying?
Right, so they have to do the program for a year, and then once they,
That would be for the 2021
Correct.
premiums.
it's something new that we've never
Yeah.
done before, so we don't have a way.
Yeah, the
to
wellness
get
program in
that.
2020 is for the 2021 employees. Sure.
Well, that brings up a bigger question about the wellness program and fringe benefits. I mean, I personally would not wanna throw any of that on the table at this point, but I just put it out there to the group if that's something we wanna, for example, reduce the, amount that we give to the healthcare savings account. I don't know.
I don't think anyone's there yet, I would like to explore that before my
Well, I
time's
mean,
up,
it kind of depends where we want to, where we feel like we want to end up and how close we are to that. I mean, frankly, and I just want to mention one thing about the stump cutter. I would like to know what the cost of contracting out
Yeah,
stump cutting is.
yeah, I do not.
But I mean, between like 125 for the if we say we can't do the solar panel installation and the stump cutter, I mean, that's 200,000 there. The dump
The
truck is.
solar panel is not taxed, it's bond, so it doesn't have a tax levy impact.
Okay, well, that's not good to know. Okay, the squad,
Although if we lease it out, when she gets the numbers, we may have a decrease in tax levy needed for
Could be.
credit against our
Yeah.
utilities.
Yeah.
I mean, the guns, we've kind of, I think,
Scratched.
I mean, I think that was one that I think we all, I mean, and we could do what we did last year of asking everyone to kind of rank things. And then if there are things that everybody is saying is a desired change or acceptable change, we can, when we come on the first, we can say, look, we've already, cut 200,000.
Would you like to go through that process again this year? Would that be-
Yeah, I would, I think, if you could send this out again,
Yes.
and then ask, and then we can all rank them, and then we'll send the rankings back, and then we can.
I will update based on tonight's meeting and continuation of this discussion, and we can certainly do that.
So I have one question though, and I think you're gonna understand what I'm saying. If we can't get down to the number, my goal is 1%, under one or lower, just, everyone has a different one. But if I can't get that from what we decide, I would like to put on the list a 2% across the board cut for every department.
Mhm.
Just to see what the departments would rank as 2% less, and, what would you say is the least needed? We did that at the county, we did it at the city when we needed to get to a certain number, so not that everyone's gonna support that, but I just wanted to make sure that option was there.
I mean, I don't think we need to put things on the list that don't have levy impact, I mean, we're just
Mhm.
looking at levy here, that doesn't even need to be on the
On
list.
the LED lighting, like on Village Hall, what's the payback
Yeah.
on that? I mean,
2 to
those are
3 years,
investments
Josh
in
said.
the future, or that would be,
2 to 3 years.
yeah, I mean, that, if we don't do that, we might save a little now, but long-term, it's not a, plus our environmental commitment is.
We could do it next year, but again, but yeah, I agree with you that
Yeah, and
payback's good.
I would be interested to know, what's the payback on the LED also versus the solar, because I think
Right.
that the payback on the LED is a lot sooner
Yeah,
than
The solar's
investment
10
on the
years.
solar. Right, where I think you'll see a reduction in your electricity costs sooner with LED.
I mean,
with
frankly,
LEDs,
if,
but-
if other people are in agreement with a 1%, that's about 460,000.
What 1% did you say?
If other people are in agreement with 1%, that's 460,000.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's come
just-
up with
I don't
440.
see how
Just
we,
for,
I don't
Jessica
see,
came up with 420 today, with the village manager.
Yep.
How, what was the 420, how did you get to 420?
That, was on the list, so,
What?
I mean, a lot of it is on the list, like, it's, I mean,
Almost
it's
everything
almost
is put on
a
the
lot
list.
of capital, I mean, there's a lot of capital things, but
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of stuff that's already on the list, so, I mean,
I don't, but I don't, well, I'm not sure there's $400,000 on it, how is the?
Yeah, oh no,
Yeah.
there, if you take,
Do 70,
the
100.
squad, the barricades,
She
the
doesn't
stump
look at
cut,
it,
the stump cutter, the
Right.
dump truck, the river club windows, the trash receptacles,
the things that
the
were in
drinking fountain. So else am I
So
forgetting?
basically everything, if you take everything to
There's
the.
a lot of, yes.
Yeah.
And
Where do we go from, I mean, you cut all these operational things, like, there's been a commitment on the village each year to invest in windows here, a roof there. If you don't just stop doing that, sure, you can get your levy down, but your personnel costs are going up 2.8. You know, your base main costs are going up, you're just squeezing
Well, but
Well,
yourself.
the
we
last
have-
thing
but
you
we
cut
have-
is your personnel
We have
in any
300,
organization.
hold on, we have 385,000 in excess, general fund,
Yeah,
balance.
substitute
Right.
to
So
that.
why, I mean,
But we
I
don't-
also don't support completely stripping our capital spending. I
We
would
don't
rather,
have to.
right, why don't we
But you
use some of
said-
the general fund balance and reduce our debt service?
That's on the list, right?
Yeah, that
She was
has to be
just, she
added
was
to
just
the
saying
Yeah,
that
I'm
she.
just saying, yeah,
Right,
like,
okay.
but
You
these
could.
are
She
things
wanted
that
to-
I think
Right,
we
just
can
using
do
the
to get.
list,
Yes.
just
Yes,
using the list.
just
I
using the
think is-
list and having, and maybe it's some mixing and
It's mixing
matching
and
of, using some of that balance to pay down debt and then being able to use our levy
Study.
for some other things. I definitely hear your sentiment, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just, I will just share that, I have heard from multiple people, continued, not on any campaign, but on, I shared this with Rebecca, a resident who, was talking about in a financial group, how difficult it is to pay their property taxes and how hard it is year after year when it goes up. Because the thing that's so hard for the average family in Shorewood is that their property values have increased so much, and that's great, but they're still paying. Right, it's sort of irrelevant in their day-to-day life, but they're paying so much more in taxes, and then we also increase the levy on top of it.
And the
It's
school district is
very-
increasing the levy by over 4%, so we have
Yeah.
to be mindful of the other stuff that goes on that tax bill. Yeah, and our utility bill is going up 20%.
Yeah, we
And I
can't
mean,
forget
it's
about
just,
that.
if you add up what for school, for county, for us, for the utility, you put that on a household, someone's already struggling, and I know none of us around the table are necessarily in that exact position, but, we gotta, that's where we're coming from, to be mindful of that, and the last thing you do in any government organization is start cutting staff and benefits,
I
is what
think, I
so
I
you
think-
start deferring, I mean, if that's the way it goes.
The conversation that Rebecca and I had was, I had hoped that, and we did vote to do the organizational study, and then we voted money for it, and then we just said,
It's on the-
no,
it's
no,
on the
we don't
agenda,
wanna
Nick.
do it, and
It's on the
anyway,
agenda.
so there was
It's on the agenda for Monday.
of doing that, okay, but, and her point, which I absolutely agree with, is we cannot have a 1% levy increase, if we're doing the same services in the
Yeah,
same bucket,
Eventually you get to
year
that.
to, let me
Yeah.
finish, year to year, then you cannot keep just doing a 1%. So we definitely, and if we use general fund reserves and one-time revenue, I know there's gonna be this objection, we're using one-time revenue to fund operations, and that's not right, but I think we all need to recognize, if we're gonna continue to do this, we do need that study, and we do need to start talking about prioritizing and possibly changing, the mix-up of what we do and how we do it. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, if I could just add for discussion before we leave tonight, one of the scenarios that I'll have in my summary for general fund reserves would call for taking the taxes needed for debt service from increasing 91,000 this year to decreasing 200,000.
I
So
don't know what
that's
that
a
means.
$290,000 reduction of the property taxes in that
From debt.
scenario
Great, one list.
alone.
How would you accomplish that?
Well, I need to write a memo on it
Oh,
and
it's-
share, but
okay,
I'd just like you to have that in your mind, so when you get the materials, that is a big
Yeah.
that's big.
deal.
Well, thanks for sharing.
It's a limited time offer, but
If we suggested be like, it's a one-time thing.
Well, and it's,
I approve.
it is in some instances, all of the decisions that you make here, they have counterbalancing points. So my biggest ask as we go into making those decisions is that we're also documenting what we're agreeing to.
Yeah.
Well,
Of
Right?
course.
Because some of them require, they will impact your decisions in the next few years. And so that's why I think reading through Mark's description becomes very important.
I understand.
And while you take action right now as this board, I will be using that as a benchmark for the following year. So we almost we're starting to set the table for what we anticipate.
And it sounds like we have enough levers to pull here, in a lot of different directions. It sounds like it really is about prioritization. And I like the process we did last year, where we all kind of came back, ranked what we wanted to do. I think that led to a really fruitful discussion. So I think we want to follow the same process this year, because it sounds like we have enough to kind of get to where we decided we
Well,
want to
with
go.
staff's input too,
Yeah.
with some suggestions from staff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, can I just make one other request, for future years or for this year, but I did finally get to go over the capital assets plan. We're making a $750,000 investment in a police garage, this year, and the main reason for doing that was given to the board when we voted was to extend the life of our equipment, because you're shielded from the elements. And I would hope that we could extend the life of those vehicles that are in the garage by a year if we're making that much of a commitment in funding from the tax levy to build a garage. So I understand it's more comfortable for officers, and I'm very proud of that we're doing that for our officers, and I also understand that it probably shields from theft more effectively, but we haven't had a theft problem. So the real benefit of the $750,000 investment is to extend the life of your equipment. So if we're gonna make that much, I just wanted to throw that out there when we talk about police squad. We're doing something to extend our capital assets for the police department, and so maybe that's the trade-off of